So I'm down here in the city of Chicago. Here, this building right there. You see that? It says Boeing and the symbol next to it. You can see the symbol on the backside. That's Boeing symbol as well. And they're located here in Chicago. So, interesting. But what has Boeing been doing for me? Where is the reciprocity? You mean them destroying my life, maybe? Because it doesn't seem like they've done anything for me. But I wrote the Boeing engineer. If I could get into my Hotmail, I could tell you how much I sent to a person at Boeing. He used to be in my networking group. All kinds of ideas. So, interesting. That was decades ago. But anyways, and then I just continued all those decades. What has Boeing ever done for me? I don't know of anything, ever. Like they said, hey, Michael, you want to be a financial planner? And you can start with Boeing executives. You'll be our preferred financial advisor. That would have been a start. But they didn't do anything. You want to take over our 401k? We have many of them. You can take them over for our different divisions. That might be a start. Or if you got pension plans, we'll give you the pension plans. Or how about our benefits? Well, that would be a start. But I seem to have none of that, right? But I've only been sending them ideas for decades. Literally decades. Decades. That's 20 plus years. So, and I think I shared with the Boeing guy back in the 90s as well. The one who came and was interviewing me for logistics. I think I shared some ideas with him as well. That was in the 90s. And the guy who was interviewing me was a black guy for a position in Seal Beach, being a logistical manager for Boeing. Yeah. And I would be positioned out of California in Seal Beach. But I think I've told you that before. And here, all the homeless guys, I used to come for the annual service, and they would list them out and mention all the homeless people that died that year. And, I go and show my respects for all the homeless people. Them treating me like garbage, all the homeless shelters I worked in and all that. So you think those former homeless people like Jules, the singer and many of the others, you think, there would be some give back, right? Because indirectly, I was doing good things for a community that they were in. Truly. But where's the payback? Because all they've done is tick me off. Truly. Made my life a living hell. Now, here's an economist whose best friend owns CDW. I sat next to him on the plane coming back from Colorado, and I have his book. I'll look for it and post it on Facebook. But I read it. It's an economics book. But he recommended this on the flight. Lou Mitchell's. And I was with Jen. Me and him were talking. And Jen was taking a nap on the flight home. And when we got back, we went to Lou Mitchell's on a Sunday after service. And they give you the little donut holes. And they also give you milk duds. And they got good food. And then I've taken Matt Buckus here. Now, they're closed for the 4th of July, but why can't they do 4th of July pancakes? See those colors right there? They can actually make that on a pancake. And it can say 4th of July. Literally. But here, let me spell it out for you in whipped cream. I'll show you the different whipped creams that have different colors. And natural, not artificial dyes or anything else. But just like cinnamon, if you mix it cinnamon and you mix certain things together, they make natural reds and blues and everything. They're food additives, not dyes. We're not talking about adding natural food colors. We're talking about mixing additives together. Like guacamole is green. Its base color is green. And oranges tend to be orange. And these are just natural colors. And if you mix them together, they make natural colors. And actually, do you know oranges go well with pancakes? Meaning mixing them into the pancake batter. Now you have to grind them up. But take an orange and grind it up, and it has juices. You don't squeeze the orange and get rid of the pulp. You take the orange, you remove the peel, and then you grind up the inside of the orange, and then you grind up the lemon zest. The exterior of the skin, the zest on the inside of the orange, the zest on the inside of the lemon, the zest on the inside of the lime. And Jimmy Fallon showed me something, and he had a lemon floating and a lime sinks. Why is it? Limes are denser. Lemons are less dense than limes. Oh, yeah, it's displacement inside that lemons aren't as dense. Limes are denser. So limes sink, lemons float. That's why. Limes are denser. Lemons are less dense. It's a simple density. Surely, gas composition is a little bit different because of the flavor in that. And there is a little bit chemical composition that adds to its natural buoyancy or lack of buoyancy. So, but in general, it's the easiest thing is the density differences, but then there is a chemical composition difference. Some chemicals are lighter. It can be denser and lighter. Like you can make hydrogen really dense, but it's still extremely light. So, again, it could be lighter because of the chemical composition as well. But I'm down here. Here's the Chicago Fed. My teacher, he was one of the heads of the Chicago Fed. So I used to talk to him once a week. And the funny thing is, me and him agreed perfectly. Our viewpoints, we agreed. I liked him. He wasn't like others, like Goldsby from the University of Chicago. He taught at the University of Chicago at the Graham School. But he also was with my partner, David. He used to do the white cloth, and he would be the keynote speaker, talking about, economics, how currencies are working, if you're doing business internationally, and so on and so forth. And it would be his once a year big business luncheon, and he would be one of the keynote speakers from the Chicago Fed. But great guy. And guess what he was against? Rent controlled, and he was against housing vouchers and all of that. Our stances lined up perfectly. He didn't believe in any of that. Truly. And so I'm going to go off track here, and black men are not going to be happy with me. But I did this study, and I found out there in Chicago, there's all these black call girls. And I looked, and it goes back to Hill Street Blues with Huggy Bear, who was male, had these black female pimping him out. Well, I found out that these black men were giving these girls drugs and then pimping them out. They weren't pimping themselves out. They were pimping the girls out. They might have been doing the drugs, but they were pimping out the girls. So they were pimping out all these black girls, feeding them drugs like crack and other drugs, and then pimping them out. And that was happening around Chicago over decades. So the reason I bring it up, so, where's the come to Jesus moment for black men? Now, I'm not saying black women are perfect in any way, but I'm saying I saw this and observed this, just like by the adult bookstore on Halsted. All the young teens that were working the street. Now, these were white boys, and they were outside when I used to go to Boss Bar, tried to, stop that. But they were prostituting themselves outside the adult bookstore. So I was trying to stop that. And then I worked with night ministry and all the prostitutes that were working in Boys Town. Now, these, again, were white boys. And Boys Town in Chicago is mainly white. Unlike in Milwaukee, where Jeffrey Dahmer was, their Boys Town was mainly black. Here, mostly white. And so these prostitutes, young male teens, you can talk to night ministry in Chicago, and trying to get them out of prostitution. But, they weren't doing anything about this in the gay community. HIV and all that stuff. So you say I'm a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. No one was preventing them from going on dating sites and going on dates and doing the right thing. So don't tell me that. And then all the years working with night ministry, ask night ministry how many gay establishments donated to night ministry. None of those gay establishments. My nephew Ryan, who's straight, he worked in Boys Town. None of those establishments ever donated to night ministry. And they were trying to prevent the spread of HIV and other STDs and infectious diseases in Boys Town. They pull up on Diversity and Broadway and take care of the people that were doing drugs and living on the street and, prostituting themselves. So, again, they were taking care of them. And I watched. You say they're just so good. I watched Live Aid raising money for them for HIV and everything else. And I've only seen Elton John do one song for Ryan White. And now I see some posters. He's a champion against HIV. But I never seen him give a penny. So I watch all these people seeing a black guy. What did Jay-Z do with the black gangs and that? Truly, what did Jay-Z do? What did, what's his name do? Kanye West. What did he do with the black gangs and all that? Truly, the black homeless. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye West. I watched. I want to know. I look at all their philanthropy. He wanted to start up a car company, and that Jay-Z, Okay. But I watched. And I wrote to Shaq about coming down and working with the urban ministry. I wrote to Shaq. He was on LinkedIn. And I wrote to him and I gave him not my information. I said, don't contact me, contact urban ministry. And I said, you should be working with urban ministry and bringing them to other areas of black communities around the United States and the world. Why? They're anti-violence. Their goal is to end violence in the black community. Yes, they have shelter stuff for both males and females, but that's not their mission. Pacific Gardens' mission is a shelter. And they have a radio and they extend out and they communicate. But I told Shaq, and I wish I could pull my thing, but they took away my LinkedIn. But I wrote him and I said, don't contact me. I said, contact them. But this anti-violence, and he's with Kenny and Charles, which me and Charles were good friends. Truly, we're on a first name basis. We used to hang out. Truly, we did hang out. So he's with Kenny, and Shaq's with him, but I didn't see Shaq's thing. So I wrote him and I said, why don't you get involved in urban ministries and their movement to end violence in the black community? Anti-violence. So why don't you get with them? Now, the bar over here targeting that, I was respectful. I sat away from everybody. He came up and then he listened to my searches across, staring at me, truly staring at me. He was beaming down. It was it's an half rectangle bar. So we're at the one end, which is an L. And I'm sitting by the wall and he's sitting on the straight side. And there's, I don't know, before it goes, my side, the horizontal side, he was sitting on the vertical side. My horizontal side had about 4 or 5 chairs. I was sitting several chairs away from him. And there's music playing. There's music playing. And, and he's leaning all the way forward and trying to listen to what I'm saying to my phone as I'm doing my voice to text. He's leaning all the way over the bar. He sat down across from me and leaning in, and he's trying to look at what I'm doing and leaning in, eavesdropping. He leaned all the way and he said, why are you searching stuff about black people? And I'm like, I'm trying to solve issues. It was right over here. It's not here anymore. And then he threatens me. I'm like, I ordered something from the bar. He tells me it's an all-black bar. Okay, there's all black people in it, but I didn't know it was an all-black bar. There's no signs that says only black people. I wouldn't have come in, just like I've been in places in Boston. It was members only, and I left. So I don't get it. But the female, she served me a coffee, and she moved away from me. We had some brief words about water purification system, and I told her she had nice legs, and she did. I was polite. She was wearing a skirt, but she moved all the way to the other side, and everybody was sitting all the way at the back. So how could she say it was the most racist thing she's ever heard, ever, where she was at the back of the bar? It was impossible for her to hear what I said. Maybe she has lip reading capability. But I showed you all my searches. And then he threatens me. And then we go outside. And then I didn't move towards him. He attacked me. And so, what do you mean? I'm trying to solve these problems, and I listed them all out. But this is what black people have been doing to me in the last 9 years. But they don't know I wrote to Shaq and tried to get them in touch with Urban Ministry and told them to donate and get involved and get on the anti-violence bandwagon and help Urban Ministry spread around the country in the black communities, because I don't know of any other anti-violence. My hood, my block, my hood. I don't know if that's an anti-violence. Is it a crime watch? There's a difference between anti-violence and crime watch. My block, my hood seems like a McGruff crime watch. So here we get Wintrust. Shouldn't they be putting all the upcoming events right there? Like on the Keeping Chicago? They're doing all the advertising. Vienna, at the Wintrust. I love hot dogs. I've eaten a lot of Vienna. I went to their place that was on Fullerton and Elston. I like Garnett's. I've been to Garnett's Popcorn. Good stuff. It's in the stadium. I don't know, Casamigos. It wasn't available when I drank. But it's a good ad with George Clooney in that. Your campus card. This is DePaul University. But they can also have a multi-student night where they can get from UIC in that. Truly. So DePaul plays right over here at Wintrust. They can get students from IIT going to the games. You're a basketball fan. They can get students from the University of Chicago, not too far away. So Illinois Institute of Technology is up on State. Hyde Park is not too far away. And they're undergrad students, I'm talking. And they can come to the basketball and watch the DePaul Blue Demons. And then they can support and go to a UIC Flames game in the stands. Students from DePaul. They don't play at the same night. Students from DePaul, from IIT, from undergrads from the University of Chicago. They can show up there, or they can go to a Chicago State game. But no one does this interconnecting the undergraduate community and then interconnecting the graduate community. Get the graduate communities to go to games. Truly. It's a thing. Graduate events at DePaul, they can have them right here at the basketball game. Truly. Part of your grad school membership is you get tickets to the sporting events. They do it for undergrad, like at Kansas. You get basketball tickets and you get football tickets. That's the only two sports. But when you do it, you sign up and there's a activity fee. At Kansas University, they charge you an activity fee to every student. And every student, I think, gets 2 basketball games and 4 football games or something like that. You could buy more, but with the activity, it's automatically the students get the tickets. You can sell the tickets if someone's willing to buy them. But again, as a student, you have to buy them. But this is only undergraduate. But they could have done that with graduate and PhD students too. And then why not faculty going to the games? Have a faculty section. You have a student section. How about a faculty section where faculty and staff can go to the games? Faculty and staff. I mean, this is called campus life. This is about building team spirit. So they go to the ball. The teachers go to the DePaul games. The janitors, truly, the custodial staff, they go to some basketball games. They get more team spirit. They're Team DePaul or Team UIC or Team University of Chicago or Team Illinois Institute of Technology. So, or Team University of Illinois Chicago, UIC. So that's building, that's team building. But you can put it into the activity fee. And for the staff, you can put it as an employee benefit where they can select it as an employee benefit. And you can give them a discount on the tickets. Oh, yeah. You know how they work discounted employee purchase stocks? Well, you can do that with the tickets. It's legal. So the same employee discount they go for purchasing employee stock, you can use with the sports tickets. And so they're an employee discount. And so, again, the students get it through its activity, but the employees, faculty and staff, they can choose it as a employee option. They can buy it. It's their choice, but they can buy it, and they get a 20% discount on the tickets. And what happens when they go to the stadium? They have to use parking, they use the bus system, they buy hot dogs and popcorn and soda. So you make it back anyways when they attend the games. But you can do like an employee stock option. You can do that with those tickets. So you can get faculty and staff going. You can get PhD students, graduate students. And yeah, I'm talking faculty and staff at the PhD, the graduate school, the undergraduate school. And Team DePaul, but also DePaul can market to UIC in that. They're not in town playing at the same time. So you can market to them to go see your soccer games in that. And it's a way for them to go out and hang out and see the other campuses. But this creates inter-school. We used to take trips. Do you know this? At the University of Arizona? We used to take trips up to and go see the University of Arizona play Arizona State University. And we would travel up and spend a weekend on the campus of Arizona State University. Truly, the game Saturday, we come up on Friday. We see the same game Saturday. We hang out Saturday night. We come back Sunday. And for some people, they stayed at the SIGEP house. Because one of the things about being a member of a fraternity, like when I saw the Fiji Islander at the University of Missouri, I stayed in the Fiji house. Chris had a friend who was a Fiji, and we stayed in the Fiji house because it was in Playboy. Oh, remember Playboy used to rank the best schools, and then they ranked the University of Missouri, the Fiji house, had the Fiji Islander, and it was ranked like one of the best fraternity parties in the nation. And it was a great party. I went to it in 1986. The Fiji Islander. I drove up to the University of Missouri. They had a different dorm system, a different fraternal system, but I mean a little bit different structure. Anyways, but we stayed in the fraternity house. Now, the bad thing that they did the next day, they had all this water and they needed to empty it, and they hated the fraternity next door they had a big rivalry with, and they emptied it out into their basement, flooded the fraternity's basement. Now, they got fined and censured by campus, and they had to rehabilitate they had to pay to remove the water and to rebuild the basement and everything, and they got threatened to be thrown off campus. Not a smart move. But again, we had this. So you can go, and there's this reciprocity. So again, that's part of it. There's a bunch of black fraternities, right? I used to hang out with Q-Dogs. And they have campuses all over the place. So part of being a fraternity, you can travel to other schools. And if you're a member of the fraternity, you can stay in the house. Somebody has to put you up. It's part of the fraternal code. So as part of a SIGEP, I could go to any SIGEP chapter anywhere in the country and ask to stay there. No, it's not permanent, but if I'm there for a weekend and that, I can stay in the fraternity house. So if I went up to Florida State University, I could go into the SIGEP house and tell them I need to stay for the night, and they slip the grip. And now, we should have had fraternal identification. We didn't, but fraternities need to have ID cards. Truly, they need to have ID cards with your name and, so my pledge paddle is still up at the SIGEP house. Somebody has my pledge paddle. My name, Sigma Phi Epsilon, Michael Olson, SPC, Spring Pledge Class, 1989. It was on the wall of the SIGEP house. My paddle, my name, where that paddle is, because we got kicked off campus. I wasn't about that. That was later on. They did something. I don't know what they did. But somebody has that pledge paddle. So here's Angus beef. It's supposed to be incredible beef. Angus. Black Angus, but it's Angus beef. It's a high-grade beef from Lentz. So, meat by Lentz. And they got the ring and the bowl. There you go. See this right here behind? And they don't understand. This is where they get this from. Those girls who wear this in their nose rings, like the one who is in Wicked, the black girl, this is what they do to animals. You're wearing what an animal wears. So wear these children around. You don't need to see me. But again, doing this team spirit. How about, the leagues between, the softball leagues between the different precincts in Chicago? Truly, they should have their own softball league, boxing league, golfing league, and other recreational leagues that they can join. Truly, they can have their own martial arts tournaments. They can have their own Golden Glove tournaments. And it's just for police in Chicago. And if you win the Golden Gloves in Chicago, lightweight, middleweight, so on, then you can fight against another state like New York. And the Golden Glove champs in that weight class fight against Golden Glove champ from Chicago. And it's only for police. Truly. And then they can do it at the FBI level, or they can have their own martial arts tournaments. And only for police. And they fight in, like, the Golden Gloves. Now you have the Platinum Shoe or the Iron Fist Reward. So you can win the Iron Fist Award. And it's the National Iron Fist Tournament for police. But only police fighting in the martial arts, the Golden Glove. It's only police to police. And they can have their own golf and everything else. Recreational, but these are just local leagues. And then Chicago police can play against one precinct, like the 13th precinct can play against the Deerfield Police Department in a golf tournament. Truly. Or they can do some other things. Truly. Or Oak Park or whatever. And so they can have these, every so often they can play against each other, like the Rockford Police Department. One of them could play against one of their precincts, can play against one of the Chicago precincts in, I don't know, Texas Hold'em. Truly, just fun. Getting to know each other. Officers from Rockford getting to know officers from Chicago. So you can have these different leagues. And Chicago Sports and Social set it up. They can have it through Illinois Sports and Social. They can go statewide. I used to do football, touch football through Chicago Sports and Social. Now it can be Illinois Sports and Social. And they can do a branch for police only. So they can get to know each other. And they can do all kinds of things. They can have an annual police ball. And they can have dance for singles. Now, a Chicago officer could marry somebody from Oak Park. Not conflict of interest. They're not in the same system and so on. So you can marry somebody. Now, where you live is the complicated thing. But you can date outside, but still internal. It's another cop, but not what you don't see them. They go to work in Oak Park, you go to work in Chicago. They go to work in Park Ridge, you go to work in Chicago. It's just one way. And firefighters can do their own thing and so on. But these are ways for them to get to know each other and bond with each other. Truly. Or they can just go to football games, like the Chicago Bears game. And in the fraternity of police, the order of police, whatever their union is, their fraternity is, they call it the fraternal order, they can have a section at Soldier Field. And they have tickets, and, they part of being part of every so often, you get a couple tickets to the game if you're, recognized as Officer of the Month. And you get to sit in the police section. And they have Officer of the Month from Oak Park, and Officer of the Month from Park Ridge, and Officer of the Month from Wheeling. And they get to go to the Bears game. And the Fraternal Order does that. They recognize Officer of the Month, Officer of the Year. And maybe they go to the Chicago Bulls game. It might not be in the season, or one big to the Chicago Cubs game, or Chicago Sox game, or the Blackhawks game. Truly. Or the Chicago Wolves game. So they can do these different recognitions where you go out and you go to a sporting event. And you meet up before and after. There's a before event, like I did. That's Little Larry and some others. I went to my friend who was a black guy, who I was great friends with, and I haven't seen him. And he owned a wine bar, and I wanted to support him. So we went there and ate dinner before. Then we went to the United Center. And we went to the sporting event. And then we were supposed to go out to a bar afterwards, hang out afterwards. And I did this with Matt Buckus and Dean and all them, introducing Pete. And I took them all to a Cubs game. So we meet at this location before, but it was just me and Dean. The other guys didn't, they just met us at the game, but they were supposed to show up at the bar before. And then we went to a place afterwards. John Zeef and all them. I used to have the picture. And I took Julie's brother, and he met Buckus and all them. He met a bunch of my friends. I invited Will. He's an engineer. But I did this thing before, and this was, to build friendship. Really, I was trying to build friendship. These were my friends, and I wanted to hang out with them and go to sporting events and do things with them. And so, yes, and so I wanted a deeper bonding and so on and so forth. And yes, it had a business note to it, but really it was about getting to know each other and my friends knowing each other. They didn't know each other, getting to know each other and hanging out and going to these events. I did this with my brother-in-law and Little Larry. I got tickets from Matt Buckus, not free. I paid for the tickets I bought them from him. And then we went to a Bears game. We tailgated before, and it was me, Lair, Pete, and Little Larry, and we went to a Bears game. And I introduced them to Pete, and we hung out at the Bears game. That's the tickets I bought from Matt. And we went and did a little tailgating before, and then, we hung out after. And, so these are fellowship things. Like, even me and Jen did our own fellowship. When you're dating, you still have date nights. Like Sunday night, we would go to Chinatown and have dinner. And Jen would have chow fong extra crispy. She liked chow fong extra crispy, and it's in brown sauce. And the noodles are, crispier. She didn't like the noodles soft. She liked them extra crispy. And chow fong with beef. She had beef chow fong. And she really liked it. Extra crispy with the brown sauce. And we come down here to Chinatown. And this is doing a date night. So even when you're together, you're doing this fellowship. Even as a couple, you're doing this bonding. You're doing this fellowship. So it's not only with other people. It's also with your family and with your spouse, your significant other. So it's moving you deeper and closer together, and it's these things that you can remember and look back on, and it creates fondness. And if times are bad, you can think of the good times. So you build up this depository of all this good stuff. That's what's supposed to happen. So when the bad times hit, or when you're nearing death, you can look back on your life and smile. For people that are nearing death, they can look back on their life. What do you think Make-A-Wish is? They want them to be able to look back on the good times and remember the good times before they pass. So they can go out with a smile on their face. They can go out feeling happier and better even as their life is ending. So here's a Pho restaurant. Never been to it, but it's Vietnamese. And they got a couple Korean restaurants. So this is becoming a little bit multicultural. Truly, this is multi-Asian cultural. Now, they don't have an Indian restaurant, but they have a Korean and Vietnamese restaurant. And so it's adding in a little bit more Asian flair. But they don't want to add in too much, because if they do, it's no longer Chinatown, it's Asia Town. So this is a Chinese-dominated area, and they wanted to maintain a Chinese-dominated area. So you don't want too many other non-Chinese type restaurants. You can have fusion restaurants.